John, it's no secret that there are growing geopolitical tensions between the U.S. and Russia and China, and that all three militaries conduct these exercises, kind of showing their strength, demonstrating their strength to each other, direct competition. And it stands to reason that that would eventually bleed into something that people haven't really thought about so much since the end of the Cold War, and that is the nuclear arsenals of these three countries. And CNN has gotten an exclusive look at substantial investment that all three governments are making in their nuclear testing facilities.
The world's three most powerful militaries, the U.S., Russia, and China, have all been expanding their nuclear testing sites in recent years. The evidence revealed in these commercial satellite images obtained exclusively by CNN. These are the Russian, Chinese, and American nuclear testing sites. Novaya Zemlya, a Russian archipelago in the Arctic Ocean. Lop-Nur, a dried-up salt lake in China's Xinjiang region. And the Nevada National Security Site in a desert northwest of Las Vegas. Images from each location show new tunnels, roads, and storage facilities constructed within the last 5 years. Nuclear nonproliferation expert Jeffrey Lewis first collected and analyzed these images.
One big factor for both the United States, but also Russia and China, is a desire to make sure the nuclear weapons that they designed and tested in the 1980s and 1990s still work.
All three countries, Russia, China, and the United States, have invested a great deal of time, effort, and money in not only modernizing their nuclear arsenals, but also in preparing the types of activities that would be required for a test.
While there's no evidence of an imminent test, Russia's Novaya Zemlya site did see a burst of new construction over the last 2 years. On the one-year anniversary of his full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin declared Russia's readiness to conduct nuclear tests.
Some figures in Washington, we know this for a fact, are already thinking about the possibility of a natural test on their nuclear weapons. If the US conducts tests, we will do so too.
Welcome to U1A, located...
This time-lapse reveals 5 years of above-ground expansion of the U1A complex, an underground facility at the testing site in Nevada. A spokesperson from the U.S. National Nuclear Security Administration confirmed to CNN that it is, quote, recapitalizing infrastructure and scientific capabilities at the U1A complex, adding, the United States has not conducted a nuclear explosive test since 1992 and has no plans to do so. Since the end of above-ground testing, governments have used deep tunnels for their nuclear tests. Satellite images reveal a new fifth tunnel carved out at China's Lop-Nur testing site, along with a growing pile of excavated debris. Washington accuses China of dramatically expanding its nuclear arsenal.
We project out to 2035 when we expect that they'll want to have about 1,500 nuclear weapons.
In a statement to CNN, China's foreign ministry also denied plans to test, saying, quote, this kind of report only speaks on hearsay evidence and hypes up China's nuclear threat for no reason.
Fire.
The specter of a new nuclear test would shatter restraint exhibited by the U.S., China, and Russia ever since the 1990s.
If you are a farmer in Ohio or a shopkeeper in Shanghai, the threat of nuclear testing isn't the tests themselves. It's the fact that you are essentially agreeing to pay vast sums of money in an arms race that no one can win, but we can all lose.
Now, as far as we know, not one of these three countries has conducted a full-scale nuclear weapons test since the 1990s, the most recent being China in 1996 with an underground test. The U.S. has been conducting for years tests that it calls subcritical tests, and they're meant to ensure the reliability of its existing nuclear weapons, some of which have been around for 30 years or more, longer than many people might keep a car. So you do need to modernize these types of weapons. It is possible that some of these governments governments are modernizing their testing facilities in the event that another government might carry out a test first. But that starts to get you into this nuclear brinksmanship and possible paranoia, the likes of which we haven't really seen between the world's largest military powers really since the days of the Cold War.
All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving our praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today is September 25th, 2023, Missile Monday. Then I came across this article, a few hours ago from CNN, and it says exclusive satellite images show increased activity at nuclear test sites in Russia, China, and U.S. So pretty much, these three countries, are still gearing up for war, because ultimately we know that this war is going to be, this war is going to involve these three particular nations, primarily, Russia and the U.S. But, you also going to have, China, North Korea, France, Iran, these certain other nations that are going to be involved as well. But, primarily it's going to be between Russia and the United States. So pretty much, they're expanding their test sites. And they said the U.S. hasn't, tested a nuclear weapon since 1992. And that's a little over 30 years ago, 31 years to be exact. They haven't conducted a missile test, at least in Nevada, And meanwhile, you have Russia and China, testing their nuclear weapons. The U.S. isn't, the U.S. isn't ready. This is just the one war that Babylon isn't going to win. So before I bring out the scriptures, I just want to play this one clip, and this is pretty much the nuclear weapon that Russia possesses,
Russia has introduced a formidable weapon that has raised concerns among its rivals. Moscow has officially deployed the RS-28 Sarmat Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, or ICBM, known as Satan II, for active military use. This announcement was confirmed by Yuri Borisov, the head of Russia's space agency Roscosmos, as reported by the Russian state news agency TASS. According to experts, the RS-28 Sarmat missile has the capability to travel over both the North and South Poles and deliver a warhead weighing up to 10 tons to any location on Earth. This development has amplified concerns about Russia's nuclear capabilities, particularly in the context of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. In today's video, we will delve into the details of the Russian Sarmat ICBM and its potential for dealing with Russia's adversaries. Before going further, let's examine what the Russian President Vladimir Putin has had to say about this intercontinental ballistic missile. The Sarmat ICBM is one of 6 advanced Russian strategic weapons introduced by President Vladimir Putin on March 1, 2018, marking the next generation of nuclear missile technology. Although White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby couldn't confirm reports of Russia's Sarmat missile being placed on combat readiness, it's worth noting that President Putin had previously discussed its deployment. As early as February, Putin announced that the Sarmat would soon be ready for deployment. Prior to that, the Sarmat missile underwent its successful test in April 2022. During the test, Putin described the missile as having the highest tactical and technical characteristics and the ability to defeat all modern anti-missile defenses. According to him, there are currently no equivalents worldwide. and it's unlikely there will be any in the near future. He believes this weapon will make those who engage in aggressive rhetoric against Russia think twice. This claim makes us wonder, what are the precise capabilities of this missile that instill such confidence in Putin, prompting him to believe it can make Russia's adversaries think twice? The RS-28 Sarmat, often referred by Western media as Satan II, is a Russian ICBM powered by liquid fuel and developed by the Makayev Rocket Design Bureau. Its primary purpose is to replace the R-36 ICBMs, which had a maximum range of 9,940 miles. Russian officials assert that this subterranean-based Sarmat missile has the capacity to carry up to 15 nuclear warheads, although the U.S. military believes it can accommodate only 10 warheads. In terms of specification, the RS-28 Sarmat is an enormous missile, weighing over 200 tons and boasting an impressive range of 11,000 miles. It stands at a towering 116 feet in length and can carry up to 15 light nuclear bombs. Its substantial range allows it to target locations in both Europe and the United States effectively. Moreover, it's crucial to emphasize that the Sarmat missile has an extraordinarily short initial launch phase, which allows very little time for observation equipment to track its flight. What makes it even more daunting is its ability to achieve speeds surpassing 12,000 miles per hour, potentially reaching the farthest points in Europe within just 3 minutes. Given its capabilities, this ICBM is undeniably intimidating. But have you ever wondered how it came to be known as Satan II? According to Sputnik News, the Sarmat missile is often colloquially called Satan II by Western media, although NATO officially designates it as the SSX-29 or SSX-30. The origin of this name can be traced back to the NATO reporting name SS-18 Satan, which was previously used for the R-36M missile system that the Sarmat is designed to replace. The term Satan II is used because it
So pretty much, this is what Russia possesses right now, that Satan II missile. And pretty much, the U.S. has nothing that's going to be able to stop that, because even China has, hypersonic missiles that pretty much will be just about undetectable, This is extremely, extremely serious. You have these nations gearing up for war because that's the time that we're in, So I'm going to start in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54 and verse 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." And yes, it's talking about these ICBM missiles. And that clip, that I just featured, they gave a very vivid description of just that particular missile and the damage that it could do and how fast it would be traveling, So I'm going to go to the book of Job, chapter 20. And I'm going to start at 22. And it says, "In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him." And yes, that iron weapon, that bow of steel, that glittering sword is describing those missiles, It's talking about coming out of the gall. It's pretty much coming out of that silo, as you've seen, because again, these missiles are going to be launched out of these silos, Ultimately, they're going to be launched into space, get their specific trajectory, their specific targets, and then they're going to come back down to earth, on fire, because they're going to be traveling so fast. So I'm going to go to the book of Joel, chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "Blow ye the trumpet at Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh. For it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the people, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even the years of many generations. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and the land, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them." And yes, it's talking about these missiles, that flame that burneth behind them, it's talking about that rocket system that's propelling them, because again, that's what these missiles are going to do, right now. You have certain lands that have been untouched by war. Well, America in particular, this land has been untouched by, war. It hasn't been invaded by another nation, but ultimately this place is going to be left completely desolate, and as it said, nothing shall escape. So once these missiles are launched, no one is going to be able to escape these missiles, but, save the elect. Only the elect of the nation of Israel will escape this destruction by way of the chariots. Once our Lord Yahushua comes back, He's coming back to, redeem His elect, to deliver them from the destruction that He's bringing upon this earth, and not to forget, the elites, these so-called royal families, that pretty much run the world, they're also going to escape this destruction. They're going to hide in their bunkers, or, their space stations, or somewhere in the mountains. Ultimately they're going to escape as well. But they're going to pretty much flee this destruction just to ultimately end up going into slavery. But ultimately, just only those people are going to escape, the elite that run this world, the Rothschild family on down to, the least of, them, and the elect. Those are the only people that are going to escape this destruction. Other than that, everyone else, primarily here in America, that is left on these soils are going to be destroyed, Verse 4, it says, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses and as horsemen. So shall they run, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains. Shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. So yes, once these missiles are launched, ultimately I say, the most people, it's like the most amount of time people are going to have to pretty much do anything is about 30 minutes, 15 minutes at the least, because again, these missiles, once they're launched, they're going to be traveling extremely fast, So it won't take them that long to get over here. That's why they're called ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, meaning these missiles are going to be traveling from continent to continent, And once these people see them, they're pretty much, they aren't going to know what to do. They're pretty much going to be awaiting their death or see their death coming. Verse 7, they shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one on his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Yes, pretty much even if the U.S. has, their missile defense systems, ultimately that's not going to stop them. Even if they try to shoot a counter missile at these missiles, it's just going to bounce right off of them. It's not going to be like in the movies where, they might shoot a missile at, another one and it'll explode in midair. Like, that's not going to happen. If they shoot a missile, at these, if they try to shoot a counter missile at these missiles, ultimately it's just going to bounce right off of them and keep going. Nothing is going to stop them. Verse 9, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word, for the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? And yes, like I mentioned, the only people that are going to be able to make it is the elect. The at least they're going to be preserved, just to go into slavery, after the war is over. But ultimately, those are the only people that are going to be delivered from this destruction. The elect from the elect of the nation of Israel, So I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 20. It says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. It's like, ultimately, these missiles are going to pelt America, There's going to be so many missiles hitting this land that's going to shake the entire earth. The earth is pretty much going to be moved out of its axis. The angels, are going to have to hold the earth together to pretty much stop the entire earth from being destroyed. Because that's how powerful these nuclear weapons are. They can ultimately destroy this entire planet, but, that won't be the case. Various parts of the earth will be hit with missiles, but only America is going to be left completely desolate, because it's prophesied that America, aka Babylon the Great, is going to be destroyed by fire, Then going back to the book of Joel, this is the book of Joel chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 9, and it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So yes, pretty much, these nations that didn't have, these nuclear capabilities, they pretty much have them now. These nations that you wouldn't think have nuclear missiles, they do, because ultimately even America's allies are going to ultimately turn, on her, and they're going to shoot their missiles over here as well. Verse 11, It says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be, let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The voice of the Lord shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am the Lord, your power dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. So yes, the point I want to make in this chapter, I made one point pretty much again. These other nations possessing nuclear weapons, and that, again, the day of the Lord is going to be a terrible day because they're, like it said in, chapter 2 and in this chapter, the day of the Lord is going to be darkness, because there's going to be so many of these missiles, really, these warheads that are going to be shot off throughout this world, that they're going to blot out the sky, they're going to blot out the sun, the moon, and the stars. So wherever in the world it may be daytime, ultimately these warheads are going to cover up the sky. It's like they're going to blot out the sun, and ultimately that's the only thing you're going to see is just those missiles on their way, to hit their specific targets, primarily here in America. There's going to be so many of them. Slakia. So before I go to that, I'm going to go to the book of Revelation chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 1, and it says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And yes, it's talking about the angels pretty much holding back the destruction, because again, it's pretty much set for a specific time, a specific day where all of these things are going to come to pass. Because again, while World War III is on the way, we still have to, the prophecy of the mark of the beast being implemented still has to come to pass. People have to be deceived into receiving this man's mark, which is, the RFID micro CHIP. For those people that are going to be deceived, they have to get that. Only the elect will ultimately, resist this man's mark. But all of the other people that receive this mark, they're going to be deceived. And then after that, they're going to be destroyed by these missiles, So this is the book of Revelation chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse 15. And it says, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. And yet you have 3 classes of men. You have the sons of God, the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You have the sons of men, which are the other heathen nations. And you have the wicked, which is the Edomites, so-called white people. They're the 3rd part of men. Verse 16, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these was the third part of man killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And again, it's describing those missiles, because the heads like lions, is going into those warheads, because again, they're going to be shot into space. And ultimately, they're going to return to Earth on fire, because they're going to come back down to Earth faster than they went up. They're going to be traveling so fast, that they're going to return on fire. So, that's the heads like lions, and then the tails like serpents, that's going into, again, that rocket system that are going to be propelling these warheads, to get to their target, And then I'm going to end it on this, because again, this is just how devastating this destruction is going to be. It's extremely serious, and those of us that are in the know, we don't want any parts. I speak for myself when I say I don't want any parts of this judgment that the Lord is about to bring, so I pray that, He has mercy on me, as well as, the apostles and others on down, and all of the sincere, men and women out there that also want to escape this destruction, because this is what's going to happen to these people ultimately that receive the mark of the beast. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 12, and it says, "This shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." And yes, ultimately that's describing these people being melted by that fire, from these missiles. Because these missiles are going to burn hotter than the sun. The sun is 15 million degrees Celsius. These missiles are going to burn at 100 million degrees Celsius, that extreme heat, I was going to end it on that, but I'm going to end it with this. It's the book of Malachi, chapter 4, verse 1, and it says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." So yes, America is going to be left completely desolate, These missiles are going to be burning extremely hot. So once, they hit, this land is going to be engulfed in flames, and we don't know necessarily how long, this land is going to be on fire, but it's going to be for a long time, And Isaiah chapter 34 explains how America is going to look after the fire dies down, It's going to be completely desolate. It's going to be a desert. No man will ever inhabit the land of America, aka Babylon the Great, again, Only desert creatures will dwell in this land after that destruction takes place, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the artists of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.